I didn't think I'd have to be talking about this yet again, but recently Simpsons voice actor Hank Azaria has been back in the news for apologizing to all Indian Americans for having voiced the character Apu. Now listen, Hank, I don't want your apology, I don't need your apology. Fact of the matter is, I actually like Apu, and I think that you did a reasonably good job of voicing him. Now, were you perfect? No. Could someone else have done a better job? Probably, but I have no grudge against you, and I would have to assume that most Indian Americans would either agree with me or simply not care. We're certainly not all whiny little bitches like this guy Hari Kondabolu over here, who back in 2017 made this video called The Problem with Apu, in which he started this whole campaign to get Apu cancelled and has actually succeeded. I also want to say that I have no problem with Hari Kondabolu outside of this one embarrassingly bad video. Fact of the matter is, I am very happy for him that he is a successful Indian American comedian, and I've even supported his career by paying up the $5 necessary to get this video off of iTunes. If you are interested in watching this video, I recommend that you go and pay for it as well, because even if you disagree with pretty much everything he says like I do, he put at least $5 worth of effort into this video that deserves to be compensated. Now, in this video, I'm just clipping out the parts that I think are really necessary to make my comments known about this whole public debate on racial portrayal in media, and I'm filling this with commentary and criticism. I'm keeping the video small. Basically, I'm checking all of the boxes for fair use here, and yes, I am an intellectual property attorney. I know what I'm talking about, and if YouTube decides that this is not fair use and decides to pull the video, just assume that YouTube is racist. The first clip I want to show you is from one of his comedy shows where he's going to get heckled by someone in the audience using Apu's famous catchphrase. Now, this is the one part in the video where I actually agree with him, so let's see what's going on here.
That whole act is, hey, brown people look like this. Hold up, white people, they look like that.
It's a funny line, okay?
I'll take your laughs nonetheless.
Thank you, come again.
There you go.
The racist Apu joke in Denver. Boulder just went up another notch.
And he's taking it well on stage.
I know you from high school, even though I don't. You're the reason I do comedy, sir.
Okay, so now he's making reference to the fact that many Indian American students are going to have this line thrown at them by bullies when they're in school. And I know from personal experience, it's happened to me, it's happened to many people I know, and it's definitely racist because there's no other connection between you and this line other than the fact that someone of the same race says it. But the problem is, for the rest of this video, he's going to be blaming Apu and the people behind Apu rather than the bullies themselves. The bullies are going to throw whatever they can at you, even if they don't have Apu at their disposal, or even if they do, they'll do whatever they can if they think it's going to get under your skin. Like, they'll come up to you and say, you got a dot on your forehead, right? Even if you clearly don't. Or, oh, you smell like curry, even if you're just sitting there eating a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Like, bullies don't need any logic or reason to fuck with you. That's just what they do. So the idea that you can blame this all on Apu is just ridiculous. In the next clip, Hari tries to pin down exactly why people like Apu in the first place.
And yes, I know Apu is one of the smartest characters on The Simpsons. Granted, the bar isn't very high.
Barney is actually
but
pretty
that's
smart.
not why people liked him. They just liked his accent. I
Really?
never heard anyone say they liked Apu because he exposed the idiocy and bigotry of Americans and the struggles of the average immigrant. No, it was just, I love Apu. That voice is hilarious.
Really, because I've never heard anyone say that either. In fact, I've never heard the question, why do you like Apu, even come up once in my life. So these are just clear straw men. But if we want to take that question seriously, yes, part of it is his intelligence, part of it is his portrayal of the immigrant experience, part of it is his funny voice. And those are all small parts of a much larger whole that's developed over the course of several seasons. Apu is a really well-developed character, and you cannot just distill what you like about him down to one or two sentences like, I just love his voice. I mean, come on. Get real. Now Hari's going to talk about his bullying experiences once again, but he's not going to blame the bullies, he's going to blame Apu.
How many of you were bullied in any capacity as a child?
We raise hands?
Yep,
Yeah,
right
raise
there.
your hands. Do the hands thing.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, now how many had to deal with, like, being called Apu or that being referenced?
Yeah, absolutely. But once again, if they didn't have Apu to work with, they would hit you with something else. Like I talked about this in one of my other videos, but there was this lady who would stand by the side of the street that my school bus would pass by, and every morning some assholes on my bus would scream "I Papi" at her, which was presumably from the Will Smith song Miami. That is not an Indian stereotype, but that's what they thought would work, so that's what they said it. They might try to call you Aladdin, even though Aladdin is not Indian, but once again, bullies don't care. So blame the bullies, don't blame Apu. Now Hari's going to be talking about Indian representation in American culture at large, and he's really going to be grasping for straws here.
No politicians or reporters, and no whatever Deepak Chopra is.
Yeah, okay.
This is all we had.
Yep.
Apu reflected how America viewed us. Servile, devious, goofy.
Alright. Apu reflected how America viewed us. I would say that's partially true, but perhaps more so the opposite. I'd say that for the majority of Americans, Apu was their first image of what an Indian American might be like. Unless you were living in a large coastal city, you probably weren't interacting with many Indian Americans at that point in time. Now, the other stereotypes, servile, I'd say that's a pretty common stereotype of Indians. Devious, not so much, I don't think. And goofy? These Indians who are always so serious and studying all the time, being goofy? No, nobody thinks that Indians are goofy. Now Hari's going to bring his parents in, and this is going to be kind of telling.
When you see that character, do either of you identify with that character in any way?
No, I don't think so.
And my parents don't either. Let me tell you a funny story. When my father saw Apu for the first time, he started making fun of Apu, and I asked my father about it. It's like, don't you see him as like another Indian guy just like you? He's like, nah, this guy's just like some South Indian. And yeah, that just shows you that Indians are actually really racist against other Indians. And in fact, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Sri Lankans, they all hate each other over there. It's only really in America and I guess other parts of the world that are really far from India that all these people kind of feel a sense of camaraderie because everyone treats us the same. But yeah, let's continue here.
Does it bother you at all that it's a white actor that does the voice of Apu?
Hank Azaria is a talented guy. They paid him, he did it. And he did it good.
That's exactly what I said. I kind of like Hari's mom. All right.
Why do you think you tolerate this kind of stuff more than we would?
First of all, we came here. We have to succeed no matter what. It doesn't mean that we are not offended by it.
Why do you feel like we don't tolerate it?
Times have changed. You have security and you belong here. You're an American.
And this really speaks volumes about woke movements and social justice movements at large in this country in this day and age. So many Americans are living so comfortably that they are now for the first time able to complain about every single little microaggression against them. People just don't know struggle and conflict, and so they see these little things and feel like it's an attack against their very being. But these things are so trivial. Just learn to fucking laugh. Now Hari's going to dig into where exactly the name Apu Nahasapima Pedalan came from.
His last name, Nahasapima Pedalan, comes from the Sanskrit word for
His story is the story of a multi-dimensional human being who grows living through pain and tragedy.
Oh, just like Apu.
And to have that name then be associated with the Apu of the convenience store, of course, is such a huge diminishment.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Your problem with the last name is that it is completely made up, but your problem with the first name is that it's real? I mean, what exactly is your problem, Hari? Get your story straight. Now Hari's gone over to kiss Whoopi Goldberg's ring so that she can bless him with black-adjacent racial victimhood, because that's really the only way that you can make anyone in America care about Indian racial issues.
Based on your definition of minstrelsy, does Apu count as a minstrel?
No.
Since it's brown paint, a white guy's
No.
voice?
I would say so, but he's not singing
Whoopi.
and dancing, is he?
Now here's the tricky part. Oh, won't you rhyme with me?
Yeah, there's...
Okay, then he's in the minstrel show too.
No. My favorite part about this part of the video is that Whoopi is just nodding along with everything that Hari says. It's as if she's in English class and she didn't do her reading assignment, so when the teacher calls on her, she's just bullshitting along until the bell rings. Come on, Whoopi, you're better than this. Now Hari's trying to set up an interview with Hank Azaria, and clearly that's never going to happen, but once he gets this email in response, he's going to pretend that this is his live, real-time, spontaneous, heartfelt reaction, and not, the best of 10 takes.
No, I'm okay. I'm fine.
Look how soft he is. I
and
mean,
we'll figure out next steps.
he'd get bullied even if he were white. Stop blaming this on being Indian. Give the man an Oscar, seriously, wow. That is sadness. I feel touched. So this is one of the most annoying things about this video. Instead of being, logical and straightforward, he just keeps appealing to emotion and not making any sense. And the whole thing is just parading around how weak he is. Oh, look how vulnerable and sad I am. Everyone please come in white knight for me. This is not how men conduct themselves. I hope no one thinks that all Indians are like this. Hari is now going to describe a racist trope that actually exists by completely making up a word that I have never heard outside of this video.
How would you define patanking if you were
I wouldn't, because this word doesn't exist.
Patanking is being asked to speak in a broad Indian accent with broad acting.
They want the accent to sound like this and they want your tongue to be really pulled back.
So patanking was going into a room and having to do that exact thing in front of people like a monkey.
I get it. That's really annoying, that's really frustrating, and it's racist. But you don't need to make up a word for that just to drive your point home. Once again, in this video, just use logic and reason. Don't do stupid shit like this. Since Hari is so offended by patanking, there's no way he'd do that on his own, right? I mean, if he went to a Hollywood audition and they asked him to do it, I guess I could see that happening, but when he's doing his own stand-up comedy that's completely under his own creative control, he wouldn't stoop to that level just for laughs. Now, would he?
Oh, you got that from India.
Yep, that's him.
Oh, you got me. I have some chicken dinner in my backpack. You want some? And not my belly. I'll give you 3 wishes, yeah. Come on.
So I milked it as much as I could. Like every corny joke about race I could imagine. Like jokes about curry and taxi cabs, gas stations, convenience stores. And it was
complete fucking sellout. Hari is now going to interview the one person in this entire video who is even softer than he is. Like, he can't even look Hari in the eyes for most of this video. And he's going to ask a pretty good question, so let's see what he says.
Something?
Go ahead.
Do you think Mr. Burns is one-dimensional?
The correct answer is no, but let's see how he responds.
I think Mr. Burns is one-dimensional.
No, he's not. Literally after the Simpsons family, Mr. Burns has more lines than anyone else on the show. Did you even watch it, Hari? Did you even watch The Simpsons? Give me a fucking break. As something of a corrective measure, I guess, The Simpsons have now introduced a younger generation Indian American relative of Apu, who I guess is supposed to better represent our struggles. Well, let's see how good this can possibly be.
Check it. I just bitch slapped your Quickie Mart into the 21st century.
Well, that was terrible. I will take the old Indian stereotypes a million times out of a million over that try-hard garbage. I mean, that was basically Poochie. The Simpsons has now turned into a parody of itself. Hari finally gets an email back from Hank Azaria, and I'm not sure which one of them ends up looking worse here.
Thanks for sending me those clips. The film looks really interesting and thought-provoking. I'm glad you're making it.
Clear fluff.
Having said that, that's not good. Okay.
Yep.
Having said that, it's not something I can participate in.
Good. Absolutely not.
I'm not comfortable, 1, speaking on behalf of the whole show, 2, throwing myself upon the mercy of your edit.
Yeah, absolutely not.
It's nothing against you. As I said,
oh, yes, it is. Come on.
I think what you're doing is great. I would definitely be open to reconnecting after the film is finished and finding a mutually acceptable forum for us to have a conversation
about this. That's clearly going to go nowhere.
If that still interests you, let me know. All the best to you, Hari, and keep up the great work. Hank.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad email.
That's great that he gets to choose how he wants to be portrayed. What a privilege.
You see, this is why you never apologize to or appease social justice warriors. They do not accept apologies with grace. In fact, they'll just take that apology and use it to try to bash you over the head even more. So don't even bother with them. Just stand up for yourself, say no, and don't deal with this kind of nonsense. Well, that's all I got for this video for now, and I know it might seem like it's kind of a moot point since Apu is basically already dead, and even if he were to come back, it's not like I'd start watching The Simpsons again. I mean, I haven't watched The Simpsons on a regular basis in over 15 years, but the point is, if you see all this woke nonsense spreading through your media and you are in a good position to speak out about it, you should. Otherwise, it will continue to spread and your media will get worse and worse. So, that's all for now. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment, and in the immortal words of Apu, thank you, come again.